G'day guys, you're listening to the AussieDevs podcast, episode 11, a show where we talk about what's happening in the world of Australian game development. I'm your host, Glenn. I'm joined by my co-host, Eric.
Howdy.
And today we are talking to Michael Piazzi from +7 Software. G'day, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. And you said my name right too. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
We actually before this grabbed it and put it in Google Translate and then pressed like the speak option to see how
it was pronounced.
And then I put it in Italian. It was like Michael Piazzi. Like a little. Yeah, we were looking at it going, I reckon that's how it's pronounced. It's not too bad. Yeah. Did you get a lot of people saying it wrong?
Generally not. Most people actually say it fairly right because, it's easy because you just think of pizza. Like, how do you pronounce pizza?
Yeah.
It's
exactly
pizza, Piazzi.
We just had pizza for dinner.
Yeah, we did have pizza.
So, Mike, you're currently in the process of working on your game Final Days.
Yep, that's right.
Sort of a top-down zombie or mutant shooter, depending on which subtitles you read in the game. Do you want to fill us in a little bit about it?
Sure. Basically, it's kind of a pretty intense co-op shooter, sort of set in a post-apocalyptic world. The idea is that most of the population's just been horribly mutated and they're all thirsty for blood, so you're pretty much just trying to survive for as long as you can. That's the general gist of it.
And I love it. It's simple. It's so good.
Yeah.
We played it last night, Eric and I.
Yeah, we played it for 2 hours as well.
Really? Cool.
Mate, we really enjoyed it.
Sweet. That's cool to
also
hear.
not just saying that. Yeah, we so it's reminded me of the old I've played a lot of console, the old dual stick shooters. You know, one's your direction, the other one's the direction you look at, which is obviously with the mouse and the keyboard commands. How did you kind of come up with the idea?
Well, the idea's been floating around for a while. To be honest, the original game I wanted to make was more of a survival game, so a lot more like crafting and building and all that kind of thing. But when I started on this project, because it was my first game that I was actually going to try and get out there and publicly release it, I sort of realized that was maybe a little bit ambitious for one person for their first game that they're releasing. So I toned it down to just be more of a simpler multiplayer type shooter game, more like the old arcade games, I guess.
Yeah.
Not much storyline. It's just more about action and having some fun.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of nostalgia like that when we were playing.
Yeah.
Like exactly. It reminds you of that the older
That's
sort of style arcade, and I can really see. I think you got 8x8 or eight players is the maximum you can have.
Actually, you can have up to officially 16, but you can push it further than that. I've had 12 players just hosted off my crappy ADSL connection at home.
Yeah.
So if you got faster internet, in theory, you should be able to push it further. I haven't actually had a game that big yet, though, but because it's still a pretty small player base. But yeah, in theory.
No. Yeah, like I said last night we were playing. You could see how having like a whole bunch of your mates or voice chat, because we just voice chatted while we were playing. You could have a good time.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it gets pretty. The more players you have, the more insane it gets as well.
That's what we were at. We were wondering that.
Does it scale up? Like, how have you scaled it?
Pretty much, the more players you have, the more enemies there will be on screen. So
that's why it was so hard with 3 people.
Yeah,
because I just constantly kept dying, and I was like, go hide somewhere so I could respawn. I was like the worst player.
Because this third guy just jumped in our game. Last night we were playing. What was his name?
Smash Crab.
Oh, Smash Crab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know that player. Yeah, I play with him.
And he was actually hell good. And we just kept on dying, and he was just like soloing it, just surviving until we respawned. He must be getting so shitty with us.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, he's just played it a bit. I've played quite a few games with him.
Yeah, he's really good. We basically just upped the difficulty for him so he could solo the whole...
Yeah, you could actually feel it though. Like I think it was scaled quite well, because I played a few games before Eric joined me, and it was pretty damn hard. And it was slightly easier with 2, but you could still tell that there was more people. Because playing by yourself, I don't think you die, that's game over. Like, I think you kind of definitely do need a second or third player at least to
I definitely need to still balance that a bit more because one player is pretty tough because there's no option to continue. But at least if you've got multiple players, as long as one person's still alive, you can respawn.
Yeah, you can't just go hide in the corner over there, close all the doors.
And just try and wait for that timer.
In the way.
Yeah.
It
reminds me of Halo because they had a similar concept of when you were co-op playing and stuff like that, you'd be able to spawn with your friend in the safe zone. But yeah, that was pretty good for alpha.
Yeah, we had a blast. Like we really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
cool. Well, that's good to hear. And the latest update I just put out last week, actually, I did a whole bunch of rebalancing of like how the enemies progressed and how many there were, and I reworked quite a lot of stuff. So it's cool to hear that you were enjoying it. I
think balancing's something that's really quite hard to do. Even definitely. The big games, like all the AAA titles, Overwatch and I remember Destiny when that came out. I played that for a bit, and you had heaps of OP'd guns and things like that. Mm-hmm. Just balancing. How do you? I suppose you relying on feedback to be able to then balance.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or do you just play hundreds of hours yourself?
Generally, I kind of take a bit of a stab in the dark first and sort of put something in place that I think is roughly going to be right, and then I just try and play test the hell out of it. But obviously, playing it by myself, there's only so much I can play test it. So I generally try and organize like a few multiplayer sessions with people, and I'll do experimental builds and stuff like that, so I can get it a bit more fine-tuned before I release it out to everyone on Steam.
That's what I was quite impressed with. It's quite from what we've played, it was quite a complete game. Like everything, the MVP kind of suit was already there for an alpha. Like you could basically do everything you kind of wanted to do. So your testing and whatnot, it seems to be going and progressing the game quite well.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's kind of hard for me to see that because I guess maybe sometimes I'm a little bit too close to it. But when I take a step back and look at what I've done since I started on it, I guess I have been getting quite a bit done to it. But sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
You actually quit your job to do this full time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long ago did you wear the mantle of full time game dev?
Ooh. Must be about 2.5 years now. I've been working on this full time. So
that would have been a pretty big step.
Yeah,
definitely. To go to yourself.
It was scary as hell.
Would have been pretty scary. Yeah, it would have been like.
But you're surviving. You're keeping your head out of the water, kind of thing. It's been 2.5 years. And...
So far, eventually, I guess once I've actually finished this game and released it properly, then I'll be at a crossroads on whether I can actually justify trying to do another game or whether I have to go back to full-time work again.
That's good. It's good that there's you always have that as a backup option.
Yeah, we kind of read up on you a little bit in your bio and stuff, and obviously, like most people, pretty big fan of playing games. When did you really start getting into game dev, even when you were doing your full-time job?
Oh, wow. I actually taught myself how to program when I was about 8, and the reason I taught myself how to program was so that I could make games. Yeah, my family had a Commodore 64, and I just loved playing games on it. But there was I always had all these ideas like, wouldn't it be cool if you could do this in this game or that, and I just started going, well, I want to make my own games so I can start putting some of these ideas out there. But yeah, I guess the rest is kind of history from there.
Yeah, I did remember seeing or reading that on your webpage, Plus7 Software, which is your brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's amazing. From that young an age, I remember when I was 8, I was still playing games. All that I would come up with in terms of game design, because I think that was something I wanted to do in the future, but I wasn't really ready to take the steps, was just come up with concepts. So for you to start training yourself at 8, that's very impressive.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I don't think I've really ever finished many games. Well, I guess not finished them as
that is
like what you'd expect if you released a game. I've made so many games that have just sort of Some of them have got pretty far and they've been pretty playable, but they just get I get bored of them and they get shelved and no one ever sees them.
I think that's the whole part of it, though, right? Like you've got to make these
that's right
things, and you've got to fail or you've got to realize that they're not what you want to do and shelf them because you never develop the skills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how you sort of learn how to do things.
And I do know, like, actually finishing a project and releasing a project is one of the biggest hurdles for game devs, game designers, and whatnot. So
yeah, I definitely underestimated it, to be honest. It's been a lot more work. I knew it would be a lot of work, but it's been way more work than I ever anticipated. So it's been a challenge.
Again, you feel don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but considering you quit your job 2.5 years ago, how have you managed to feed yourself? Or pay for rent
this
or
is
things
always
like
a question that we're thinking about.
Well, I guess I am in a pretty good position because I'm not exactly a young guy, I guess. I had a good job before I was a software developer, and I'd been doing that for a long time. I had a pretty senior position, so I was making some good money from that. And I'd recently paid off my house as well, so
congrats. That is
so no more mortgage.
That's
so
good.
That was the thing that obviously helped the most, like not having to pay mortgage or rent, because that just destroys your pay.
It does.
So that's what helped me sort of save up a bit of money, and that's what's sort of helped me sort of stretch this out a bit longer. But still, it's I've been basically living like a student again the last couple of years, so it's been a bit of a lifestyle change.
Yeah, like, do you want to come out, Cat?
Yeah,
you shouldn't.
Yeah, no, oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I think people underestimate, like you said before, how much work's involved and how much you have to sacrifice to really get this, do what you want to do.
Yeah. I have been missing the disposable income recently a bit as well. Like sometimes you just want to go out to the pub for a meal and like have a few drinks, and it's a bit of a tough thing to budget for.
A bit of a stretch. Yeah, got to accommodate it every now and then though.
Yeah, that's right. You do, otherwise you go insane.
So when do you think you'll have the final release of Final Days, or even the beta stage?
Well, originally when I first started the early access, I was saying about 6 to 12 months, and I launched on early access like October last year. I think I'd still be able to hit that goal, but not long ago actually I was talking to Jacob Janerko, who did Paradigm.
Yeah, yep.
And he was
we had a chat with him.
He was in a similar boat. Like, he was thinking of releasing in October last year, but then he did a whole bunch of research on when was a good time to release. And he found out that was just a terrible time for indie games to release, because it kind of gets drowned in all the AAA titles that come out at the end of the year. So yeah, I'll probably end up releasing early next year. Don't hold me to it, but that's my current sort of gut feeling on when it'll be like no longer early access anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a very good point that you actually made there. Like a lot of these solo devs and whatnot, they don't really anticipate the whole marketing and release kind of stage, and there is a bit of research to do when to release a game, because there are dips and there are rises when people will actually participate and actually use the game.
Yeah.
But it's not clear cut. It's like as clear as mud kind of thing when these days will be. Obviously, Christmas is like a decent time because everyone's just buying gifts for others. But yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, I originally thought it would be a good idea to release at the end of the year because it was Christmas and everyone's like spending heaps of money on like games and sales and stuff. But from a marketing point of view, if you want any press coverage or like streamers or YouTubers to cover your game, it's not a good time because they got plenty of other like big games that have come out that they want to all get their hands on. Right.
October, November, AAA. That's when they release all the AAA.
Your I was just touching on your history, software development. You did that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I guess for us, we're trying to do the same thing with game dev, but I guess our profession isn't really tailored towards that direction. How much would you say software development has helped you with producing these kind of things? I think it's basically the same kind of industry, isn't it?
Well, pretty much. I'm definitely utilizing a lot of the skills that I've learned over the years in regards to programming. But to be honest, I don't think it's really that important to be able to make games. Because these days there's so many good tools available that pretty much anyone that's interested and is willing to spend the time to just learn how to use some of the tools out there, anyone can make a game these days. But I will admit that the skills that I have in programming have helped me do things in my game that other people maybe wouldn't really have as much success with, especially the multiplayer aspect. That was really, really hard. And I think you'll probably find a lot of other people will agree with you on that. I know Nomic Studios, another Perth studio that did Square Heroes. Talking to those guys, they got the exact same thing to say about multiplayer. It's really, really hard to get it right.
Felt pretty old Counter-Strike style. When we were, because I hosted the game and then Eric jumped in and we were like,
it's like Counter-Strike. You just create a public game, people top in. It's that easy, but it's not, is it?
Just make a multiplayer. Come on, man.
Yeah, the whole lag is a really massive issue to make a game feel responsive when there's when you've got like a 200 millisecond ping is super hard.
That's exactly right. I was lagging so bad last night.
But you were running off, you were hotspotting from your phone.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay.
A bad spot there. Yeah.
And I was off. What's it? NBN. Yeah.
Yeah. The mobile phone can be pretty hit and miss. I've actually done a bit of testing using a mobile phone just to try and get the game as solid as I could, because sometimes it can be really like a solid connection, and then other times it's just all over the place, like the ping and everything is just up and down, and you get heaps of packet loss and things just slow down, and mobile is just
that's exactly the symptoms.
Well, to be honest, this is the first I've really even thought about it. About what you would do. So, I mean, how do you go about trying to counter some of the ping issues? I mean, obviously you can't counter all of them.
There's heaps of techniques. I could talk about it for quite a while about some of the techniques that I've used. It might get a bit boring as well, but there's all sorts of things you can do. Prediction is the most common one, and for example, when you're moving your character around, what most games do is they'll move your character straight away and tell the server that you've moved, and then the server will get that information a little bit later with a slight delay, and it'll then sort of update its information with that and then send and do any corrections it needs to, because maybe you've been you've walked into another player or something like that. And then it sends the information back to you, and then at that point in time you're already ahead of where the server is, so I think it has to try and correct things that have already happened, and it gets a bit hairy.
Very technical,
right? There's something, to be honest, as someone who doesn't make multiplayer games or any games at the moment, something I hadn't really considered. You play in a multiplayer game and you get kind of shitty with the lag, but don't really think about what's going on in the background and and
there's
how hard it necessarily is.
And there's so many techniques as well. It really depends on the style of the game and what kind of mechanics it has and all that kind of thing, because for everything that you do, you need to make compromises, because it's another example is I just recently added pipe bombs into the game.
I was so mad with them.
You blew yourself up so many times.
And I was chucking them and then just attracting 2 zombies / mutants, and I was like, this is worth it.
They're good fun. But to get them working, one trick that I did is it kind of uses the animation to hide the lag. So when you press the button, to throw the pipe bomb, it plays a little animation. In the meantime, it's actually told the server that, hey, I want to chuck a grenade. So it'll use that delay of the animation to hide the fact that if you've got 200 milliseconds of ping, it's going to take that long before the server can throw the grenade for you.
That is clever.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's real cool.
We did see the animations. Like, it would go up.
We were actually like, oh, that's a cool animation. There you go. Awesome.
It's like a win-win.
We're showing our lack of knowledge here.
It's not it's probably not something I'd recommend trying to embark on for like if you haven't really done multiplayer before.
Take it small steps at a time, I guess.
It's super hard, and if you're going to do it from the start, because once you've made a game that doesn't work on multiplayer, it's really hard to actually turn it into an online multiplayer game after that.
I think nowadays as well, like, everyone just expects everything to have multiplayer.
Exactly.
Like, even AAA titles that they just sort of like, it feels like they just tack on the end just because it's expected. I think maybe you got a bit more leeway with indie games. Because people sort of understand what they're purchasing or whatever. But
I've still seen a few games where people have sort of gotten a bit shitty that it didn't have online multiplayer, even though the developers never said they were going to do online multiplayer. But
people expect what they can't get something.
And it's so much work to actually do it.
So with the technical side of things, what did you use to develop this software?
I used a framework called Monogame. It's basically the open source version of Microsoft XNA framework, which it was basically the framework you use to develop on the Xbox 360, but you could also do Windows and Windows Phone. But Microsoft discontinued that, and the Monogame project is basically just the open source version of it. And there's quite a few games actually that I think have been ported over from XNA onto Monogame.
Righto.
Like actually a big one that I've been playing recently, Stardew Valley, that was written in XNA.
Oh yes.
And
I know Stardew Valley.
I know that's getting ported over to Nintendo Switch right now.
Oh wow.
And they're using Monogame to do that.
Yeah, so a pretty good software. Would you say it's relatively easy to learn how to use?
Probably, I'd say Monogame requires a lot more programming knowledge.
So your C#.
Yeah, it's mainly just coding, whereas something like Unity, it's more about the editor that you're using, and the coding is like just scripts and stuff that you attach on top of that. So I'd say for beginners, it's unless you want to get into programming a lot and learn a lot of programming, I probably wouldn't recommend it. I'd probably recommend something like Unity for someone just starting out.
That's basically the consensus that I've seen throughout the forums. Everyone's just recommending either Unity or Unreal, or if you want to go native, your Xcode and whatnot for mobile games.
Yeah, Unreal's probably a bit more hardcore than Unity, I'd say. That's all like Seedable Plus and stuff. But yeah, you can make I'd probably say much better quality games in Unreal, whereas Unity kind of has. You'll probably get to a point in Unity, like if you're trying to make something really big or quite polished, you'll start running into sort of roadblocks and issues with Unity. I've heard a few people sort of swearing about that recently.
Well, it's I guess if you're a solo developer, it's probably a longer term thing, hitting that kind of I guess level of detail and complexity in your game.
Yeah,
so
for most people, I don't think I wouldn't let that deter you. Like if you're making a game or you're just starting out, then Unity is a great place to start. And there's so many tutorials and videos and documentation online. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Have you actually? You said you did do a lot of mock-up games and whatnot that you haven't released. Were they on just that mono platform or?
Oh no, this is the first time I'm using Monogame.
Oh, okay, so what other platforms have you?
Well, I kind of went through a period where I didn't do a lot of games because once I started like my career in software development, after coding all day, I just didn't really feel like doing anything more on a computer after that.
Second dose of coding.
Yeah, but I did start a project like maybe 2011. It was heavily inspired by Minecraft, and it was I was trying to do a similar idea to what inspired Final Days, and that was like the sort of zombie apocalypse survival type game. But it was
as you were saying.
But it was all like voxel style, like Minecraft with the cubic voxels. But it was all procedurally generated. Like it had a procedurally generated terrain and procedurally generated cities, and you could walk into the skyscrapers, and it had like all cool lighting effects, and it ended up being more of a tech demo rather than a game. I just messed around with it for like 2 years, just basically writing this engine. It was all done in Java as well, and I decided that it was, by the end of it, because it was such a massive learning experience. There was so much bad code in there, and it just ran really badly, and I decided that I didn't really like Java either, and I just shelved the whole thing. But it's still, it looks pretty cool. Kind of a shame I didn't take it further.
But that's one of the other important lessons is knowing when to quit while you're ahead. Like you were saying, it was a good I guess initiation into that whole scene, and it helped you experience and learn a lot of stuff. So it did pay off, and those 2 years weren't wasted at all.
Oh no, I learned a lot, definitely. Everything that I've done has been a learning experience. It's never a failure. Even if it doesn't fail, you learn something from it.
That's a good way to think about stuff.
So, how's Final Days been received so far on Steam and stuff?
Well, I guess compared to other people that have done early access, I think I've probably done all right. I haven't really. Most of the feedback I've gotten has been pretty constructive. I haven't gotten any negative reviews. I haven't really got anyone trolling me or telling me my game is shit or anything like that. Not that this is an invitation for anyone to do that. Like,
I'm going to make it right now.
Please don't do that.
They could probably just hit up Jacob about his game and start trolling him. He's got a few fan letters like that, hasn't he?
A couple, but I think he's done pretty well. Also, like I had a look at some of the his reviews and stuff, and he's gotten so many positive reviews. People are just loving his game. I think he's done really well out of it.
Well, that's the same with Final Days. Like, we loved it. It was straight into the we did a bit of a review. It was like a brief template and stuff like that, and we loved how it went straight into the action.
It was fast paced. It was like heaps of lols, basically. All of the lols. We were just laughing. Like,
got to do it multiplayer, though.
Frustrating, but still fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to find that balance between how much it pisses you off that you can't get through that, like, number 5, the final wave.
Yeah.
But it's still, then it forces you to work together to figure out how you're going to do it, like your strategy, you know. And we'll hide in this hallway or whatever.
And admittedly, there is still a few frustrating things in the game that I need to work on a bit more to sort of make them a little bit more fun rather than frustrating. Because there's a difference between frustrating that's fun and frustrating that's just makes you rage quit. Yeah. And
I don't think we didn't get to the rage quit stage, but
every stage was still doable.
I think, like you're saying, if you're playing solo, you probably would rage quit. More.
I have that's probably I've received a little bit of feedback from people saying look, the game's too hard. It's even on easy mode, it's too hard for me. So I've been doing some work towards sort of giving people a bit more of a chance, and then ramping things up later in the game so that you just get owned.
I don't know.
Taste of it first.
Yeah, get it. I was gonna ask. I don't know if you can divulge this, but I was just curious. How many days are there?
Well, it depends what mode you play. In the last stand mode, the campaign mode, there's 7 days.
What do we get? 5?
Yeah.
You nearly got there.
So are they like? The one thing I didn't quite understand was, are they like army or are they just random survivors?
Well, I haven't really sort of like set anything in stone with that. I kind of just left it in the player's imagination. But
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. That's what I thought. It could be like, Terminator style, where it's just random people that are just become soldiers.
It feels kind of siphon filter-ish with the goggles, like the green eye goggles.
Yeah. I recently I just did a new title screen as well. That sort of I got like a really cool picture of
some guy in a gas mask.
Yeah, and like photoshopped it all and put the green glow and stuff on the mask. I posted a pic on my Twitter.
Yeah, saw that. That's real cool.
Oh yeah, cool.
I guess that leads to the next question about marketing.
Oh yeah.
Have you done much marketing wise for the game? I know we had Gray recommend just hitting you up and stuff like that because you were developing this game and whatnot. But we also have seen a lot of your tweets and whatnot.
Well, I guess generally, probably, I couldn't really say I've done a lot in regards to marketing. The only thing I've really done is I've tried to keep a bit of a presence online mainly through Twitter, and just like post lots of updates about what I'm working on and my development progress, and sort of keep people in the loop with what I'm doing. And the intention is that I'll start to ramp up my marketing efforts when the game is closer to being complete. Because I kind of don't really see too much point in contacting YouTubers or streamers or press or anything while the game's in such still an alpha state. Because I'm kind of worried that maybe, it'll maybe get misrepresented a bit as like, because I haven't finished it yet, there'll be a few obvious things that the game is missing, and also I don't want to really build up too much hype about something that isn't really ready for people to get excited about yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
If I had a different style of game, where I planned that it would be in early access for a while, like say more of like an RPG style game or a survival type game where you're constantly doing like heaps of content updates, like there's always like new features coming in, then you probably want to do a fair bit of marketing so that you can sort of get a big enough community behind it, and sort of help you get through the early access process. Because if it's going to take you a few years in early access to get it out the door, you kind of want someone to know about your game.
That is very true. It's like, when you start developing stuff, you have your first initial images, just keep posting stuff up on Twitter so the interest does start forming. Yeah,
so I'm trying to slowly ramp it up, but to be honest, I don't really have much of a clue what I'm doing with marketing at all. It's definitely been the hardest part of this whole thing. I have no clue what I'm doing. I have no clue how to really promote myself well. I'm just experimenting and trying different things and seeing what works.
Social media is definitely the way forward with that, and I think Twitter and Reddit and things like that is where you're gonna probably reach people the easiest.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared of Reddit. I've never actually used Reddit, and I know the community can be they're not afraid to let you know what they think.
Yeah,
the whole the interface confuses me with Reddit a little bit.
Well, that's what I've been told, but I guess it's a bit too late for me because I've already put so much time into my game. I don't really have time to sort of become like adept at Reddit and be accepted by the community there.
Yeah, with regards to Reddit, it's never too late. People are always, especially the game dev subreddit, people are always interested in what things you're creating as well. But hey, you did tack on one of the important things, and I think the previous developers we did talk to, they all said marketing was one of the main areas where they didn't really know what to do and whatnot. So I think it's the same boat for all the solo devs. It's just putting your foot through the door and just keep at it. You're doing very well with Twitter. I keep going onto the Let's Make Games Twitter page and.
Oh yeah. Let's Make Games is great. It's what I used to keep in the loop as well. But yeah, marketing. Yeah, I've heard some figures like you should be spending half your time on marketing, and it's probably about right. It does eat up a lot of time. Like even sometimes when I'm just posting information online, like making news posts or trying to make a GIF for Twitter or something, it sucks up a lot of time.
Screenshot Saturdays.
Yeah.
That's the easiest, man. You just take a screenshot of your game and.
But making GIFs is like an art form in itself. It's like when I first started trying to make GIFs, I just sucked at it. But I've sort of learned a few things over time, and like I can sort of make semi-interesting GIFs now. But still, it's like making GIFs should be easier, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm straight.
I think full-time management of a Twitter account is actually that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
even just
it can be.
our little like
you do well.
But
you do well.
you understand why people, like companies, hire people who are their social media.
Definitely, because you have to be responsive on it. If someone's like tweeting at you, then if you just ignore them, then that's like the worst thing you can do. You might as well not even have a Twitter account.
Yeah, basically, that's it.
I was recently trying to explain that to a friend of mine who's got a business, and the guy that did his website for him just set up Twitter for him as well. I said, shit, man, you might as well deactivate your account, because if you're not actively using it, then all you're going to do is piss people off if they try and reach you on Twitter. It's a waste of time.
Bots as well. Get on all the bots.
Yeah,
so many bots. You got the bots to retweet, like all the game dev bots that are out there.
Yeah,
so that you can spread your message. It's about reaching as many people as possible with one single tweet. Yeah, but.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Definitely.
Most of the time it just comes down to a roll of the dice, I reckon.
And you get that frustration of, like, even sometimes if you post a question or you post, all you want is feedback, right? So you post like a picture and people will like it or retweet it, but what you want is someone to go, hey, that's good, or I don't like this, or whatever. And I mean, it's good that people are retweeting or whatever, but
so simple to do those things, but actually put a comment in.
That's what I've been trying to do a lot more of, reading other tweets. If I like a picture or something that I see, trying to actually write a comment against it so that feedback.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. I quite often just like or retweet something someone's done instead of like, it's just easier than saying, oh yeah, that looks good. It's just like, like.
This whole process, like I think you've gone through it, but with my games releases, the whole marketing stuff, I have a newfound respect for those who do marketing full time.
Yeah, me too.
It's just
and
it definitely has an impact.
And do it well as also.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Yeah.
That's the other thing I've discovered. There's a lot of dodgy, they call themselves publishers, but I don't really know what they are. There's a lot of sort of dodgy like groups like that'll say they'll publish a game for you and they'll take a 30% cut for like marketing and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then they basically do jack shit for you.
Yeah, you check them out and they have like 10 followers.
And you still got a contract with them that you have to pay 30% after, Steam's taken their cut.
Yeah.
Then they take their cut and you're left marketing your game because they're not doing anything with it. I've heard of a few people that have got sucked in by that.
That's a very good point for those, because publishers are generally, especially the big ones, they have a lot of followers, a lot of influence in that kind of space. So getting aboard with them can definitely be beneficial.
Yeah, there are good ones. There are good ones. Don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot of like dodgy ones.
Dodgies, yeah, that's that. So, that's the one you have to look for.
Yeah.
Look out for.
So definitely, if I could give any advice on that area, it's if you're thinking of working with a publisher, make sure you try and find out some info about that publisher. Try and find other people that have worked with them. Try and find out if they're actually legit and they're going to help you rather than just take your money.
That's it, and definitely find out what kind of help they provide, and if they can show you examples, the more the better.
Yeah, and once you've signed a contract with them, it's pretty difficult to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never sign anything.
Which can hurt a lot if most of your revenue is going towards other people and you still got to do all the work to actually make any sales.
Yeah, so I guess that's the business questions.
I suppose, what was, just stepping back to the game, what was probably your biggest challenge to date that you've had developing Final Days? It's hard to narrow it down.
No question, the multiplayer part of it was my biggest challenge. That took me probably about 4 or 5 months just to get something that was actually fairly solid and worked pretty well. I've obviously continued to refine it and optimize it and make it work better since then, but yeah, it was a lot of work, more than I expected. I don't think I appreciated how hard it would be before I dived into it. So yeah, it's multiplayer for sure.
You've done everything yourself, essentially, all the coding, all the artwork,
pretty much. I've used a lot of third-party stuff, a lot of assets and stuff that people have made available, under Creative Commons licenses or public domain and stuff like that. That's helped me out a lot because, particularly with art, I'm not super good. I can do stuff that kind of looks okay, but it takes me so long. Like I'll spend days on something that maybe takes someone like 5 minutes to do. So yeah, there's like a lot of the sprites and stuff were done by this guy. Like he did like a whole bunch of art for a similar top-down zombie game, and it never went anywhere. And it was he just released it all in the public domain. And I'm like, oh well, this stuff's pretty cool. This is a good starting point, and it just sort of just stuck and felt right. So it stayed there.
Yeah,
I don't know if everyone agrees with the art, but it's better than what I can do anyway.
I think artwork's one of those things that is way harder than you think it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's I don't think there's many people who can program and make artwork and do everything else all at the same time.
No, I think it's probably a difficult thing to do because I think it uses like different parts of your brain, and it's kind of hard to switch between those things. Like I quite often find that like I can't do too many like different tasks in the same day. Like if I'm trying to fix bugs, I'll pretty much be in that mindset of fixing bugs. But if I want to do something more creative, like it'll be really difficult to switch over to like doing something creative after you've been doing all that like logical type stuff. So one person doing it all it's got a lot of different challenges.
And I mean, I don't think there's no people shouldn't be afraid to look for those things like assets or find people that are willing to help them and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know whether there's sort of stigma around it or not. Or
there probably is a bit. I think more so around artwork. I think the general feeling is that it's the thing that catches your eye at first, I think. So, because most people, when they're browsing through the Steam store, I guess the first thing that's going to catch their eye is the art of the game. So, probably it is an important thing that you have some original and cool looking art. So,
and I mean, I think
it is one thing I probably would have changed that if I could. If I could have gotten an artist on board with me, I would have. Definitely.
It's also where do you go to find that sort of stuff? I mean, like we were saying before, Reddit or the community in WA is pretty good, but everyone's got their own projects they're working on. All right, mate. We'll probably look at wrapping it up there. Thanks heaps for taking the time out of your day to talk to us.
Yeah, no worries.
And like I said before, Eric and I really enjoyed playing the game the other night. Yeah, I think it's ticking a lot of boxes, and we'll be happy to give you some feedback as well. Send an email through or something like that, just with what our thoughts were.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I definitely really appreciate that. And I've got a lot more updates planned, so hopefully I can add even more stuff to the game that you guys like.
Yeah, just definitely hit us up because we'll test it out for sure, mate.
Sweet, awesome.
Guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. Apologies about the audio quality. We did have some technical issues recording inside a spaceship. So next one will definitely be better audio-wise. And for those of you who want to try out Michael's game Final Days, it's available on Steam, $5 US. Definitely worth it. Definitely an awesome party game. Think of it like as like we said, Counter-Strike, but on a bit of a zombie theme with a bit simpler graphics, and it works totally so well. So yeah, definitely check it out, support a fellow developer, and have fun with it. Thanks for listening, guys. The links to Michael's Twitter and his game Final Days will be available on our website, AussieDevs.com. And yeah, if you guys want to contact us, hit us up on @AussieDevs Twitter.